On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Jaylyn Luciano on. We touch base on how she got into hunting and how it became her obsession. If she isn't at work or the gym, she is out scouting or hunting. Thank you for tuning in and listening to her story. You can find her on Instagram under Jaylyn_Luciano_. To see the video version of the episode with added pictures, you can find it on the Lonesome Willow Gun Dogs channel on YouTube. On this week's episode, we have Jaylyn Luciano, and I have met her through social media. So she does some big game hunting. She does some turkey hunting. She's our first kind of sprinkle out of the bird dog community. So she's a little bit more into the other hunting communities. But she has been around. She's been around bird dogs. So my first question for everybody is, how did you get into hunting?
I grew up with my dad and my brother always hunting, and I was tagging along all the time, but it was more so just like a hike with dad or getting outside with dad. I was not the one, I was not learning anything. I was not the one, actively hunting at all. I would get out to scout or, things like that. But as I got older, it was just not something I was ever educated on, and I strayed away from it. I started playing volleyball. That took up my weekends, friends, and school, and so much that I never put any time into hunting. And then I had met my boyfriend, my now boyfriend Jake, in 2021, I think, June 2021, somewhere around there. And I met him in June, and that was when, he was doing trail cameras, all of the prep for his Western hunt. He was getting ready for season. And if I was not spending time with him, in the woods, I wasn't going to see him at all. But it's not something that I was ever against. I was very avid and just hiking and traveling for hiking and getting outside in that aspect. That I just viewed it as, okay, I'm just going to go for a hike with him. And then he just had a different agenda. And he really taught me in that first summer of us together a lot about what goes into it. And hunting big game, whether it's whitetails or he does a lot of the Western hunting. He showed me a whole new perspective. And I had tied that lifestyle of hunting into my lifestyle of fitness and hiking and just wanting to be outside. And from there, it just kind of took off. He's taught me everything. But this past year is when I really tried to venture out on my own to learn on my own as well. So he got me into it for sure.
What's your current career?
Current career is with Centerpoint Insurance. So we do employee benefits, home auto, all sorts of stuff. We literally do everything. I used to be a teacher, and that is now what I currently do is work for Centerpoint Insurance.
Where have you traveled to hunt?
There are some hunts that I traveled for where I didn't have a tag, but I got to tag along on the hunt and still experience it and be there. And that was Wyoming. It was a mule deer hunt that I got to go to. And again, I was there if anybody needed anything, put extra stuff in my pack. I would have a secondary camera sometimes and get just B-roll, things like that. And I really got to experience what it's like hunt mule deer out west because it's something totally new to me. This past December, I got to go for an late season elk tag. That was my tag in December, so that was my first Western hunt for myself. So I've been to Wyoming, and then I hunted Maine last year for turkey season. But other than that, that is pretty much where I've gone for hunting specifically. This year, I've already got some new states lined up for turkey season and for the fall, so I'm really excited.
So, out of what you've done, which would have been your favorite?
It is really hard to pick. I will say I've always been drawn to the West. I went out there to hike a couple times. My cousin lived there for a good couple years before she moved back home here in Pennsylvania. So I went out to visit her a lot, and even before the hunting aspect, I was always drawn to the West. And then add in the mule deer and elk hunting, that definitely holds a special place in my heart. But I feel like my roots are definitely whitetail and turkey just here in Pennsylvania. So it's kind of just It's hard to choose.
What did you, I guess something important you learned out in Wyoming when you were getting your elk?
Um, Honestly, so I was actually really lucky. I was 2 years ago is when I went on the mule deer hunt where I got to just experience what it was like. And honestly, that gave me insight into what it was going to be last year when I did go on this past year for my elk hunt. Different time of year, so that made it different. But I kind of already knew what to expect. And there's really, I feel like my biggest takeaway from the hunt itself is just like you truly never know like what's going to happen, and you really have to be like you have to take the initiative to just like figure it out. You have to do what you got to do. Like nobody else is going to do it for you. Things aren't just going to happen. Like you have to go make it happen. And that's something that like I said, I got lucky with the experience I had mule deer hunting. We were actually close to the same ish unit, so I wasn't like completely thrown off guard with my first elk hunt. But my dad actually got to be there too, so that was really special. So it was just a moment of, it's not always about like the harvest, but it's more about the hunt. And I was just really blessed to be able to fill my tag this past season.
What's your favorite game that you harvest, you think?
Probably elk. For a couple reasons. It's like I said, my roots are definitely here chasing whitetail and turkey hunting, but there's just something special about an elk. And I did take advantage of getting a late season rifle tag, but archery would be for sure a goal to harvest an elk with my bow. But there's nothing like elk meat when you are feeding your family with it and having like sitting around the dinner table thinking about packing it out and everything that went into the hunt. And it's just something that's pretty special.
What is your favorite game recipe then?
That's tough. So honestly, right off the top of my head, just a simple elk burger. Can't get enough of them. I mean, I meal prep every week and I keep it pretty easy. So I literally throw in elk meat, deer meat, turkey, pheasant, goose, fish, literally anything. I don't really have a favorite recipe. I just base it off of I grab a protein and then choose a carb and a vegetable to put with it. And I always am experimenting with how to cook it. But yeah, and you can never get tired of elk burgers. They are just the best.
Your favorite item to take elk hunting, and then what was your favorite item to take when you go turkey hunting?
One thing I like to do is take a journal. I keep something that's super small that I can put it like in the little pocket of my pants, like like down by the knee, or in my pack where it needs to stay dry, because I truly like to document things, even if it's for myself or if it's for social media. That's something I always keep with me no matter what kind of hunt it is, whether it is elk hunting or turkey hunting. Other than that, I don't really know what else I would say. I will say though, like, again, archery holds a special place in my heart. So if I ever get the chance to pick up my bow before a gun, I definitely will.
Why do you like archery over rifle then?
It's something that I just really like for whitetail example, or even elk, like the challenge of really getting to like know the animal, pattern the animal. It's an extra challenge to get even closer. And I just really like the thought of, so for my elk hunt, I was practicing laying down like 400, 500-yard shots. He ended up being like 70 yards right in front of me, and I free-handed my shot. But of course, I had my gun, and I was like, dang, like I could have had my bow. Like you never think you're going to get that close to an animal. So it just adds the extra challenge and excitement, and then it makes it that much sweeter when you do harvest anything with a bow.
Who has been your inspiration in hunting then?
I would say Jake, my boyfriend, just because he does it full time for a living with his media company. And so I've watched him work I watched him when he was still like trying to create his business, and then now I watch him do it full time. So I really admire him and all of his hard work and then everything he does to teach me along the way. And I will say I have made through getting into the industry, just like I have met so many amazing people, and it's even better when I can meet some really fun and genuine women who are also in the industry as well. So there's a lot of women that I do look up to, whether it's just via social media or sometimes when I get to go to events, getting to meet them in person too.
What is his media company?
So he owns The Void Media. And so this year he's been grinding out all the turkey videos. He has posted a lot of them from last year. He posted my first public land bird last year, which I will say I love public land as well, no matter what I'm hunting, because again, it's just like more of a challenge for me. But I got a turkey 2 years ago. It was my first turkey, but it was private. And then last year he posted the video of my first public bird. He is currently on a 2-week turkey tour before I go and meet him in Michigan to kick off my turkey tour as well. So he has it on YouTube and Instagram, The Void Media. He's been posting a lot of videos and getting the content out there.
I always like a good little plug-in. How did you prepare to go out west?
Preparing for any hunt, I always so that's one of the reasons why I've increased my like gym routine and making sure it's funny, I remember this specific moment. It was turkey hunting, not out west. And I had a tag and Jake and I found a bird and he's like, we got to get to the top of this mountain and get on his level. He was very, elevated. And he's like, it is fly down time. He's in that tree for not much longer. Like, we got to go. And I just remember being so dang tired when I got to the top that I was like, I don't even know if I can compose myself to sit down now and not move and spook this turkey. I ended up harvesting that turkey and everything went well, but that was a moment where I was like, I knew at that point I had this elk tag. So I said, I do not want to feel like that if that is something that happens where I'm hiking and need to get to this elk or move quickly. Like, I don't want anything like that to hold me back. So I increased lifting weights. I was lifting heavier, increased my cardio. I did a lot of rucking. So I would put whatever weight, I increased it over time, but I'd put weight in my pack and just lace up my boots and go on a trail or in the woods and just go hike. I listened to a lot of podcasts. Bowmar Tonics is one that I really listen to a lot, and there's a lot of other ones. Watch YouTube videos on elk hunting, and then also just try and get my mindset right and stay positive. And just, you have all those scenarios of what's going to happen? How's it going to work out? And you have all of that running through your mind. And I just try to remember, it's going to happen the way it's meant to. You know what to do. You work hard. You trust your gear. I just kind of had to hype myself up leading up to the hunt. So Jake had a GSP, and I got to experience hunting with him for the first time, pheasant hunting a couple years ago. And then this year, once I started working for Centerpoint Insurance, we actually hosted a hunt, and I got to go along with that as well. And you definitely, whether you're hunting or not, or just taking your dogs out, I have a GSP as well, and he is so hyper and just running around all the time and just all over the place, where I'm like, okay, I need to be able to keep up with him.
Are you gonna hunt him at all?
So he is 3.5-ish. I think his birthday is the end of October. When I got him as a puppy, they had him smelling wings and things like that, and they trained. They have other dogs that they've trained before. So the goal was to initially train him after, the initial potty training and stuff like that. I was going to get him out and stuff. And that's when my life took a huge turn. It was in spring of 2022. I had a lot going on, and it was something that I just never did at that point in time because I just had so many other things. And it came around to after he was 1.5 that I tried to get him out a couple times and train him, because I'm it's not too late, him being 1.5. And he's somebody, I definitely struggled with training him. So he will hunt, but he does not hunt super hard. He does better when he's with Jake's dog Ruger, because Ruger has hunted very hard in the past, but he's on the older side now and not hunting as hard. Remy's just a dog where he's very good at it and he loves it, but he doesn't always lock in. And there are moments where he's like locked in, and then all of a sudden he's just like, I'm gonna go over here. And I'm like, okay, it's really frustrating when you spend time after time getting out there. And so after the hunt that I went on with Setter Point, it was actually our dog handler and his dog. I was friends with him. It's Tom Henry. He's the game warden up here. It was him and his dog that I was with in the group, and watching them work, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I loved every second. So I was like, maybe I need to get Remy out and like not give up on him. So I've been figuring out some tips and tricks from him and some others to try and get Remy to get like more locked in so I can maybe hunt him a little bit more.
Heck no. I always say no dog's ever old to like
Yeah.
to start learning.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come out and put them on some birds out here, you can always come out. I've got 34 acres.
See, that was another thing is like I'm not taking him to fields to always train, because there are sometimes where either like we just moved to DuBois last year, and with pheasant hunting not being like our top thing that we do, I'm like, I don't know where to go or what to do. And then places we did go, there were like a lot of people. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be really hard because he's not going to stay focused with other people. So I definitely want to like get him on some birds though, for sure.
Yeah, we've got whenever I think it was the Egyptian wheat or maybe it was the Sudan grass. It gets to be about, in certain sections, it's like 8 to 10 feet tall.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
And then we have switchgrass that's coming back annually. So that's more, I would say, like mid-level. But it would be good for him to come out and like experience going into all the grass and
Yes,
get
for
that.
sure. Yeah, I'd love that.
So going into the hunt you did at the beginning of the year with Setter Point Insurance, I saw that you had pictures. So you do photography?
So I've always been super interested in photography and always had like cameras growing up, but it was never like a professional camera. I never like took the time to invest in a camera. And then when I met Jake, being a videographer and photographer himself, started like being more intrigued, messing around with his cameras. And as he got more into it, he would need a little bit of help, but he wasn't to the point where he had his business established yet. So I would be the person to help, and you know, I learned that way. I am no expert at all on cameras, but I have been, excuse me, trying to pick up the camera a lot more, whether it's photo, video. I don't like the video editing, I will say that, but I do photograph and edit my own photos and stuff. And with that hunt, I will say I had just as much joy picking up the gun and getting birds as I did with the camera, picking it up and capturing the hunt. So I genuinely just had an absolute blast. But that's something I'm still learning. I have my camera on me all the time though. So like when I'm turkey scouting, like right now I'll drive around in the mornings and stuff that I can video them, take pictures of them, stuff like that.
So you mostly do photography just for yourself. You don't like advertise to do it for anybody else.
I did some fall mini sessions just to get more experience. It's not my forte to do sessions like that, but it gets me experience behind the camera, and I have no problem like talking with people, I don't necessarily pose them. I give them a task to do, and then I take a picture of them doing something, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
walking or playing a game or whatnot. But I did a little bit of that. We do have, I believe, two, a wedding and then an engagement party, I think, this summer, which this is something that is totally new to me. Jake is going to be like the primary person, and then I'm there to get anything extra. And again, it's just more experience for me. But I typically take photos of the equipment I use, any products I use, camo, bow, anything, along with taking pictures of deer and turkey. Edit them myself, and sometimes they turn out good and I post them, and sometimes I'm like, let's just keep practicing. But with Jake's business, he partners with a lot of companies. Like I said, it's his full-time job, so he does get paid to video and put out content and get photos. So there are some times where I'm more so like a model in the clothes we wear, what we shoot, guns, bows, everything, boots. And then there's times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it on my own and then go ahead and like get my own content with that stuff. So I'm still learning, but it's something I really enjoy.
How do you scout for turkeys for someone that is looking into getting into it?
So 2 years ago when I got my first bird, I just tagged along with Jake a lot, but I never ended up harvesting one. So that's when he called up a friend. He's like, I've got lots of birds. They do the same thing every single day. I'll put you in a spot. It's going to be boom, done. That's exactly what happened. That was great and all. But last year was my first full turkey season of just all public ground. And we just moved. So I had no direction of like where to go or any spots or anything like that. And Jake had left early March last year for a turkey tour. And so it was all up to me. I'm like, dang, the pressure's on. Like, I don't know if I can do this. So what I did was I started on online. We use Spartan Forge. It's the same thing as OnX. And I started scouting that way and just kind of YouTube, Googled, used Spartan Forge resources to learn how to e-scout and just like look at certain places. And then really it just mattered of driving around and scoping out some places and then seeing if there were any pieces to walk. Right now, honestly, it took in March, I didn't see birds like at all. I knew they were like starting to come out and about, but it wasn't until last weekend that I actually started to finally lay eyes on them, and we got a couple like that were hammering off and everything. So that was really cool. Then we had this cold front where it snowed this morning, which is wild, but they're still going to be out and about. So for right now, I'm pretty much just going to listen. So at nighttime, I'll drive around and listen to see if any are getting ready to go to the roost and see like where they're roosting at. And then from there, you have to figure out like which way are they flying down or what way are they traveling during the day. And then in the morning, same thing, right at daylight, I'm driving around and just trying to locate them. Even if I don't see them, but if I hear them, I put a mark on my Spartan Forge, I put a pin, and I move on to the next spot. And then as it gets closer to turkey season, that's when I'm putting more miles on boots and maybe walking some pieces or really dialing in on, maybe I heard one bird here, but there's multiple in another spot. So I'll kind of gauge from that as well and be like, okay, we need to go where there's multiple birds, but there are birds, somewhere else too, and kind of prioritize spots from there.
What are some challenges you face during turkey hunting?
Honestly, calling. I'm so new that I'm still learning to call. So there are times where I'll mess it up, but you don't have to be great. You don't have to be like a world caller or anything. But if you're not super great at it, don't call as much. I personally like to be hands-free, so I'm practicing with a mouth call. But I also realize like I need to be able to use something else. My personal choice is a pot call. So just practicing and like preparing yourself for that. Also, like I said, we hunt public, and so people and the pressure is always going to be a challenge. So really finding spots that like, if you've got to walk a ways, that's fine by me. I will walk far to, get away from some of the pressure. And honestly, like just for this like perspective, during deer season, you can hunt sun up to sundown. And so if I'm not at work, or if I could be in the woods, like I'm gonna be, because I almost feel guilty. It's like I can't be at home. I need to be working or I need to be in the woods. With turkey season, however, this isn't a struggle, but this is like I do want to be able to hunt all day. Right now, the majority of PA season, you can only hunt till noon. I do want to hunt all day. eventually, if that ever changes. Same thing with Sunday hunting if that ever changes. But to be honest, to be forced to not be hunting is kind of what I need. Or I run myself thin trying to balance work and hunting, and I just get burnt out, and I don't ever want to do that. So I can get burnt out with turkey hunting, but I have to take a step back and realize, like, okay, once noon comes, that's when I can do my workouts, do things for me, and then also like catch up on work and everything. So it's just definitely a balance that you have to figure out for yourself.
Was it this year or was it last year that you went to the NWTF?
I went to both actually. I went this past February and I went last year. How many? I've been to three of them, I think. 2023, 2024, and 2025. I
Okay.
got to attend.
So, how are those?
Lots of fun. I mean, it's downtown Nashville, so like it's always a good time. They always do a great job of organizing events. So after the show, which is a very long day, but there's so much to see, so many great people to meet, so many good brands, whether they're new or not. Um, it's a long day, but you get to see a lot, you get to learn a lot, and then after that, there's usually always some sort of like after party, but that's a great place. I've met so many like Instagram friends and like internet friends at these events because we all kind of live from all over. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of going to NWTF is just meeting new people, meeting Instagram friends, seeing new brands, and it's just a really good time.
Because I know it seems like every like group or like organization seems to have one of those. So like Pheasant Fest,
Mhm.
they had in I think it was Minnesota this year. And then I went to so I don't know if you've ever been to the Great American Outdoor Show.
Yes, it's only like it's pretty close to where I live. So I
Okay.
actually worked it at a booth last year and this year.
Okay. What booth did you work?
We don't currently work with them anymore, but for the past like 5, maybe 6 years, for Jake and the past 3 for me, we would hunt out of cruiser saddles. We'd saddle hunt for deer, and so we worked the cruiser booth in the archery hall.
Okay. Cuz that show is kind of everything. It's got pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's upland hunting, backcountry hunting, whitetail, turkey, ducks, it's fishing, it's hiking, it's cabins, it's RVs, it's literally everything.
I was there with God's Country Upland Preserve.
Okay.
I was helping with their booth on the second Saturday.
Okay, yeah, it's a such a long show.
Hmm.
I'm really glad Cruiser did it like this the past 2 years, but we split it in half. So we had a crew, the companies from Tennessee, so they would come up from Tennessee, they'd set up the booth, work half the show, and then we would show up for the second half and stay and then tear down, which was really, really nice because, like I said, it's just such a long show and it's great. But when you work the whole thing, it's hard. So we were there for like the second half of the show.
I know Fitz, the owner, he had people like in and out all week, and then he was there for the full 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And
that's
he,
just crazy.
I know he had his Vislas there, and I took Mo the day that I went. His Vislas they were just tuckered out. They didn't care about people coming up. They were just done.
I
So
believe
a
it.
new set of Mo and then his son's dog Rocco. He's an English setter. They were greeting everybody. So we had a new set of dogs to bring in people to the booth.
Yeah, yeah. Dogs are always going to attract people to a booth.
Hmm. Um, what tips would you give to someone wanting to start either turkey, elk, deer?
Anybody looking to get into hunting in general, I would start local. There's plenty of Facebook groups where you can find people to maybe like just ask questions or get together with. Like, lean if you don't have somebody in your life already to like help teach you, definitely look for somebody local, make some friends. I YouTube literally everything. And so YouTube is very helpful. But at the end of the day, it's just getting out there and doing it. And you have to realize if you go out and don't harvest anything, if you go out and you feel like you wasted a day, there's always, always, always something to take from your day outside and learn from it. So, something as simple as shed hunting. If you go out and you don't find any sheds, I'm not a huge shed hunter. I've yet to find like a shed all by myself. But if that's something you want to do, you just have to go do it. You lace up your boots, you go pick an area and you walk. But there's a lot that you should look at of like, say you're deer hunting, you want to know what sign to look for. And if it's a good area or a bad area, like even if you find a bad area, you at least know not to go back. So it's not a waste of time and you're just constantly learning. And so no matter what kind of hunting it is, lean into your friends and family, lean into YouTube, social media, Instagram. There's plenty of people who put out content that is very educational, not just like entertaining. And then, like I said, at the end of the day, you just got to get outside and do it.
Going back into the bird dogs. So you said you got your bird dog 3 years ago. He's a short hair. So is that your guys' like choice of breed then? Would be short hairs?
Maybe. So I grew up when I was a kid. I very vaguely remember, but my parents had a Brittany, and then we didn't have a dog for a long time. And then when I had met Jake, he had his German short hair. And I remember I was on a run sometime in the fall, and I found a stray dog. And I stuck with it until I was able to have somebody because I could not find owners or anything. And I finally like got her to the Humane Society and all of that, and she was not like picked up from owners for a couple days. And I guess there's like a period where if the owners don't come, she like then is pretty much up for adoption. And at that point, it was like getting close to that, and I was like, okay, I think if she doesn't get picked up, I'm going to adopt her. Well, she ended up getting picked up, and that's when I was like, maybe I want to get a dog. So I did a lot of research. And I was looking for an overall like active, friendly, family friendly, kid friendly dog and someone that just fit my lifestyle being outside. And that's, I also took into account that Jake already had Ruger, who was a GSP. So I ended up finding Remy and getting him. I do think if I got another dog, if I didn't choose a GSP, I would want a lab. Same thing, I would want to hunt them. I would want to maybe get into ducks a little more or something. But I feel like it's just, they're an active dog, family dog, and just overall, just like a really good dog. Those would probably be my top two breeds.
I think that's all the questions I have for you.
Sounds good.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been trying to get everyone I can to give their unique story. I think everyone has a story to tell and everyone can learn from one another.
So how long have you had this podcast?
So we just started it at the beginning of the year.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome.
But I've been throwing this idea around for a while. And then I was like, I'm just going to do it.
My friend and I had the idea of starting a podcast together and just like her and I just like yapping back and forth about hunting and then eventually like maybe asking somebody to get on it, and we just never did it. And I'm like, it is one of those things, like you can't think about it, you just got to do it and see what happens and have fun with it. So that's really awesome that you decided to go for it.
Yeah, and I was like, if it gets me to meet more people and get some more connections, it's just a lot better.
Yeah, like there's nothing really bad that can come from it. It's good conversation. You're meeting people, talking to people, hearing awesome stories and getting to share them. So that's awesome.
I'm going to just do it. Just jump in and do it. Get everybody on and see where it goes from there. Because there's a lot of like older generation now that like they don't have social media. They don't have anything. And to get them to tell their story, because it was a lot different back then whenever like my friend Shane, he started or his dad started, like they didn't have callers, there was like so much that was different back then.
Yeah. And like even like my dad, like for example, like I said, I had not really learned from him, but I'd go out with him like when I was a kid. He was a weekend warrior. He needs to retire, but he still works Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., like will not take off. Like it's very hard for him to take off work. He was going nuts when we were at the cabin in Wyoming for my elk hunt because he like wanted to work and like needed something to do. I'm like, relax, enjoy like being here. And he's like, I can't. And then of course, Pennsylvania, you can't hunt Sundays. So he was just, going out every Saturday doing what he could do. But that's, again, like his story is just a little bit different. Back then, just hunting in general was different. So, yeah, I totally get it.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Lonesome Willow podcast. To keep up to date on all things Lonesome Willow, you can find us on Instagram at LonesomeWillow_podcast, Lonesome Willow_Gundogs, Facebook under Lonesome Willow Gundogs, YouTube to watch the video version under Lonesome Willow Gundogs. If you know someone that would love to tell their story or you would like to tell yours, please reach out. I cannot wait to keep growing this amazing bird dog community.